fucking tan you've got.
Hello and welcome to the Grid Irn-Cru podcast, the American football podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. I'm your host Keith McGinty, and this is the new first edition of the Flagship Grid Irn-Cru podcast. We have whittled down our crew members down to our final 53, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by three of the finest crew members that we can get together on a Thursday evening at this time. First up, we have the Highland Chief himself, Big Studs. How are we, buddy?
Not bad. Here, ready to go for week 2. My face is as red as a Chiefs home jersey because of the sunshine up here in the Highlands. Seems like a different weather climate, but nah, all good and looking forward to week 2 of the season.
It's all that golfing you're doing. That's
I know. To be fair, I've not been out as much as what I should. I tried to go out the night and I got about 3 holes before I started losing balls.
Well, we'll move on quickly after that. Next up we have Danny, our Patriots fan up in the northeast of Scotland. How are we doing, Danny boy?
All good, pal. I'm just sitting here deciding if I'm going to try and brave it and push through for the 1:15 kickoff tonight. I've not had the, you know what it's like when you settle into that new season. You know, it's the kickoff game, everybody stays up to watch it, and then obviously with the Sunday night game we had and the Monday night game, you know, you try your best to try and push through. So it's been a wee bit of a rough week for sleep, but I'm still, part of me is like, that Washington Green Bay game could be a bit spicy. I'm working from home tomorrow, so you know, no need to get up early. So I'm sitting here contemplating my life choices.
That sounds interesting. You might be able to sway me by the end of the podcast as well. I actually thought you were going to be contemplating whether to go for some of that fine New England Patriots rivalry gear that's just come out.
I have already made my plans. I will be in Boston week 4 for the game against Carolina, so I'll be heading down to Foxborough probably in the Friday before the game, and I'll be going in there and spending a fortune to get myself kitted out. So I'll be dripped top to bottom in the new rivalry stuff. I've got to say, I love it. Yeah. I think they're all really nice, to be honest. And I'll even give the Jets a wee bit of credit there as well.
Speaking of rivalries, it's a big weekend for you, Mikey. Mikey is a resident Ravens fan. Anything exciting for you happening?
I'm repping old Teddy Buchanan, the UK Ravens pick this year, tonight on the crew. So big up to him. Browns at home to celebrate our 30th anniversary, which is quite funny because I'm seeing there's a load of flack online because how dare the Ravens support 30 years against the Browns and honour a Browns legend in Ozzie Newsome. So there's quite a few things. I mean, Danny's talking about the rivalries gear. Secretly, you can see a wee banner behind me. The Ravens are doing a bit of 30th anniversary merch. So
nice.
They are not telling us what it looks like yet. So it's a bit of a kind of wait for that to drop. So we're waiting to see what they might do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend because I stayed up late and got heartbroken at 4:40 or whatever it was the other night. So for my sins, yes, I'm probably going to stay up after Danny's convinced me and watch the game tonight as well.
Listen, 30 years on unbroken history is nothing to be shook at, is it, Studs? Right, so
I thought this was an NFL podcast.
We cover all grounds, mate.
We have been asking lots of questions on the Instagram. Thanks very much for everybody who's been following us recently and taking part in the questions. So we've got some cracking questions lined up for us. The first one that we're going to go to is from Let me see. I should have all this set up, shouldn't I?
Take your time.
Yeah, Swifty Spin's response was to the question, it's after week 1. It's far too early, but, and his answer was, or their answer was, the AFC and NFC 1 seeds of 2024 might not even make it to the playoffs. Of course, that was the Chiefs from the AFC and the Lions from the NFC. Studge, you take it away in this one. Why are both teams not going to make it to the playoffs?
I think Swifty needs to simmer down. One side, on the NFC side, I can see their point. The AFC side, I'll say it's week 1. Let's chill out a wee bit here. The Lions looked horrendous against the Packers. The offense, probably too early to kind of overreact and say Ben Johnson losing him to the Bears was such a huge factor. But it's a new OC, so from that side, that's when you're kind of looking at, can the offense be as potent? That's kind of what we're waiting to see for the Detroit Lions. I think from the Chiefs side of things, obviously a lot of the chatter was that we were planning for Xavier Worthy to be a bigger part of the offense, and obviously first offensive play of the game, Travis Kelce decided that's not happening and decided to wipe him out. But I think there was still moments in the Chiefs game where you seen like the Mahomes magic, if you like. He's getting tackled, he's flat doing his Superman flying sideways and still making passes and things like that. So I don't think there's anything to panic about for the Chiefs side of things as well. On that note, I think historically the Chiefs have got better as the seasons went on. They find ways to win games, so I'm certainly not panicking. Danny's sitting smirking because obviously we've got on to what game we've got this weekend. But yeah, I'm not panicking from a Chiefs perspective. From a Lions perspective, I'd be on high alert.
Danny boy, just mentioned there the Lions and losing their OC to the Chicago Bears. How much of an influence do you think that is going to have on the Lions, who were pretty much humbled by the Green Bay Packers in that game on Sunday night? Let's see what it finished again. It finished, I've got it, 27-13, but that 13 was kind of after the game had pretty much deserted the Lions. A good performance from the Packers for you, or was it really just the Lions have not shown up yet?
Both. I think the Packers are a legitimate team, and again, this maybe it's too early. It's week 1. I'm not going to jump the gun and say they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they could. They're looking the part. But the Lions, it's got to take a while. It's got to take time to settle down. What Studs is saying there about, it's too early for the Chiefs in week 1. Well, it's too early. At the end of the day, the Chiefs just looked an older team to me. They look a team that's, they'll be a good team. They don't look a great team. Kelsey's old and slow and past it. Worthy's injured. Rashid Rice is doing porridge somewhere. You've got the O-line looked crap. Mahomes was scrambling for his life. They've got the Eagles up next. It only gets harder and harder on the next wee while, and I'm not convinced by them. I think that they're not in a rebuild, the Chiefs, but they're one of these kind of settling down period. They've got a few pieces that need time to gel together. I don't think they've got the talent there to surround Mahomes like they once had. And I think I don't see them as... I go with Swifty. I don't think they will. I think they're bust. Anyway, sorry. But the kind of difference, though, between them and the Lions is the Lions have had a massive shake-up. One of the things you can say about the Kansas is their coaching staff is always consistent. Nobody comes in and goes after their offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, or even their skill position coaches. They're pretty consistent with what they've got going on there. Whereas you're obviously losing not just your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator. You lost Tanner Engstrand, I think it is, who's now the new Jets offensive coordinator. They lost him as well. So it's a deep dive. It's sometimes when that happens, you lose an offensive coordinator. They then come in and take all the position coaches as well with them, and it's a complete brain drain, and it takes a while to then build that back up. Now they've got the talent in the roster. Obviously, I think we're losing Ragnar.
Yeah.
Aye, that's his name. Jesus. So sometimes you say a word that just doesn't sound right in your head. That was me there.
Always.
Looking massive. But again, are these problems that they can go over? Yes, they can. Are they going to be as dynamic as were last year? No, I don't think they're going to be, but they're still going to be a serious team come December and January.
Mikey, you, as a Ravens fan, know a lot about losing in the first week, especially after playing quite well.
He's swinging this week, isn't he?
Just make sure, listen, I'm going in hard before I go in amongst the flock on Sunday.
That's it.
Are you worried about either of these teams? Danny says the Chiefs are getting that wee bit older. Travis Kelce has been touring Europe like he did last year. He's been pretty much rested at home, so you'd hope that he's going to be a Studs. Would you say yourself that Kelce was a bit not quite himself? Worrying last year. Did you think that the decline was happening a lot quicker than you'd hoped? And then I'll come to you, Mikey, about how do you think the teams will do?
I think you've seen the off-season activities bear fruit last year. Let's put it that way and put it mildly. Whereas we're saying he looked slower and whatnot. He still scored like a 30, 40-yard touchdown where he just somehow managed to be completely missed by the Chargers defence.
Yeah.
Now, again, taking into account who you were playing, you're playing one of your divisional rivals. Kelce notoriously always has a difficult day against Derwin James in particular. We remember a couple of years ago where Derwin James picked him up and basically body slammed him to the ground. I dare say it was probably Danny's highlight of the season, considering the Patriots at that point.
Well, I've already had my highlight of the season so far when they get bitch slapped down by the big boy. Was it Tate? Or no, what was his name?
Oh, the boy that was allowed to stay in the game for hitting him in the head. I remember that one.
Well deserved. Well done, Zebras.
Listen, a strike's a strike. If you're going to strike somebody, you should be ejected for the game. But I'm not going to be like the rest of the crew and focus on the Zebras, right?
Back your shit. Or whatever the hell his line was. You know?
Just because
Zebras.
this guy stayed in the game and then batted down 2 passes, stopped a 2-point conversion. I'm not going to focus on the Zebras. I'll focus on the Chiefs. But bottom line is, Kelce still managed to go open and get that big touchdown.
Mikey, what about the lesser of the two Harbaughs for you? How do you think him and the Chargers are faring in his second season?
The thing is, to go to the initial question about the AFC and the NFC, I think the Lions losing Ben Johnson be a bigger thing than is going to show up. I think it was a bit apparent at the weekend, and then when you seen Williams and the Bears playing well, you were like, all right, okay. He was a lot for that Lions team, so they'll take an adjustment on that. They were a little bit disappointing, I would say. So, interestingly, I think some of the NFC teams are a wee bit better this year. And you mentioned it with Packers and stuff, a young team. I'm like, all right, okay, so they might have it tough. I still think they'll probably get into the playoffs, but Chiefs, I think we've done it in our preview. I think the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They'll find a way. They'll put some notes in some Zebras' pockets or something, and they'll end up there somehow. I'm just joking.
We're not even going to say allegedly for that, man.
No, I know. But I mean, the thing with the Chiefs is the injuries. You'd rather have them now, right? And the Chiefs had a notoriously stronger start to the kind of league season anyway than some of the teams. The fact that the other 3 teams in their Division 1 is like, it's the first time in like 17 years or something like that. So sets a marker of it's got to be competitive, but we all thought that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
So I think they'll still get the playoffs, but it is an interesting thing to watch because if the Chiefs, hypothetically, Studs, I'm not saying this got to happen, but if they lose this weekend, then they've got a tough game in week 3, they've got a tough game in week 4. You could be looking at my team, you could be looking at 2 perennial AFC contenders are sitting in the back of similar criticism that the Bengals had last season at the first few games. So it will be interesting.
Andy Reid sacked by Halloween. Never know.
Well,
Mikey, I'm going to stay
Nobody's
with you.
taking that bait.
Mikey, I'm going to stay with you. We'll talk about the quarterback performance of the weekend. That was Daniel Jones, absolutely horsing the Finns. No, I'm only kidding. Of course, we have to go to the Bills Ravens game.
Danny Dimes was good though. It was.
It was. He'll get a chance later on, but we have to talk about that incredible Monday night game. The 41-40 to the Bills. Or sort of Sunday night one, wasn't it?
Sunday night football, yeah. It was it was an exceptional game. If you're a neutral, then you're watching it, you were like unreal. If you were a Ravens fan, you were like 2 scores is not enough, we need 3. Interestingly, it was weird that we're talking about that Lamar gets absolutely leveled before one of the plays and nothing gets flagged, and he says this week he's like, there's no point crying about it on the field, just get up, kind of thing. And it's like, so it was one of these sort of games where the players just took their licks and just got on with it. I think I mentioned it previously that for 56 minutes, I think there was a lot of teams in the NFL were going, how are they going to stop the Ravens this year? Because we pretty much conceded only 25 points to the fourth quarter, but we'd scored 40. And the irony that we lose on a extra point conversion from our new kicker type thing. But I mean, Henry fumbling. There was 2 or 3 things that obviously happened, gave the momentum to the Bills. And if you see Keon Coleman's touchdown, I mean, you tip pass and then it lands right in the breadbasket for him. So it's like, it's just one of these sort of things. And because there's that narrative around John Harbaugh and they can't close out games and all that sort of thing, which some people believe, and I think will be in that position, you need to have scored that many points more than any other team type thing. So you can look at the stats both ways. So it's just, it's an interesting thing because it's a tough loss. But then we had a tough loss at the start of last season by Likely's toes. And we came all right, do you know what I mean? So there's still a lot of positives and bright sparks. And when you look at our defence, there's a heavy turnover of youngsters and new players on that defence, and they're only going to get better. So, yeah.
Week 4, is it? You're expecting Likely to be back?
Yes. I mean, one of the big things, it's underrated and nobody's really talking about, is we're missing Pat Ricard. And we still gashed the Bills for running. I think AQ Shipley rated us as the number 1 online, which is a bit to some of the Ravens fans. But we had 4+ runs of over 30 yards. And that was with like just a roll line played fairly well, bar a few pass pro snaps. And Derrick Henry's just Derrick Henry. So if he's doing that without Pat Ricard, I can't wait for him to come back. But him and Likely are due back. So hopefully they're back for the Chiefs game, studs.
Danny, what about the Bills then? I don't know if you got a chance to catch much of the highlights from this game, or did you watch it yourself?
I attempted to. Body gave up on me, I'm afraid. But again, it's one of these things. It's early in the season, but these are your 2 big teams, I'd say, in the AFC. I think if everybody's looking at it and who they fancy beforehand, taking off those Chiefs card spec studs, I think when you look at them and just what they've added to it and the sort of powerhouses that they are, then we got exactly what you expected from them. And I think both teams should be pretty confident going forward for the rest of it. Josh Allen, just his Superman cape on, he can just sort of drag that team along. There was 497 total yards or something like that. It's just ridiculous what they were able to actually do. And I think, what's got to set them up is for the season is actually that win. Not usually they're the team. Studs just in 13 seconds left to go. I'm sure that'll be familiar with you. These sort of games where they're the ones that have been giving up these fourth quarter leads. They're the ones that shat the bed. But well, they're the team that's actually just done it, and they've done it to a very, very tidy team in the Ravens. So I think that's got to just fill them with a load of confidence going forward. But again, it's week one. There's still a lot to play. There's still a lot of injuries out there. There's still a lot of kind of attrition and how are they going to kind of cope as the season gets on. But it's all looking positive for them.
Studs, we will move on to the Cowboys versus the Eagles. They travelled to Philadelphia to take on the Super Bowl champions. Still a sore one for you, I realise, but it was a tough match for the Eagles. I should say, actually, Kev was meant to be on our resident Eagles fan, but before the podcast started, he actually spat all over his own laptop and had to get ejected from the tonight's proceedings. So best of luck, Kev. We'll see you next week there. What did you make of Jalen Carter on that opening drive there?
That's just absolute madness. How you can... Listen, I get he's in his second year, he's still young, fully accepted responsibility in his press conference after it. Still madness. He's played the game for long enough to know what you can get away with, what you can't get away with. It wasn't even subtle.
That's human decency, right enough, innit?
Well,
just don't be a cry bastard, don't spit in people. You're taught that for about your 3-year-old. Like, there's just no excuse for it at all.
It's interesting that one of the other roughing the podcasters, the two brothers that have started their podcast, they had a thing the other day, and it was like, I'd rather get punched in the face than spat on. And
absolutely,
I totally agree with it. It's one of them that, it's just disgusting, isn't it?
I always said when I played football, the one thing that would make me lose my rag on a football park was somebody spitting on me. I could deal with banter, I could deal with winding each other up. I was in mass brawls in football games and stuff like that. Somebody spat on me, that was it. I would have seen red, and I wouldn't have stopped hitting them. So I know it is the perfect Scottish word for it is Danny used as clatty.
Absolutely.
Before we move on, is Dak innocent?
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Danny, go for it. What's your thoughts on Dak?
Clearing his throat
at the feet of Jalen Carter there.
Dak knows what he's doing. You know, it's like these folk who kind of, players when they walk out and they stand in the logos. Oh no,
that's called the Josh Allen, Mikey.
Mahomes taking over. No, see how when players walk out and they walk on like logos and stuff like that and just try to be a bit disrespectful. That's what I kind of saw for that. He's got like a bloody 100-yard park to kind of spin in any direction, but he kind of finds the guy who's a reputation for a hothead and doing stupid things and spits in his general direction. And then he's giving him the big cheesy grin afterwards. And obviously, he took the bait, and he'd done it like a pro. Again, whether I'd use spitting as my technique to kind of get under the skin of the opposition, I don't know, but that's my take on it.
I mean, it nearly worked for them, because without Carter, the Cowboys were doing all right. Do you know what I mean? And Carter's a beast for them, so he is a loss, which is why he's been expedited and he's playing against the Chiefs this weekend. So, but I think I don't think there was anything in it, but I 100% think that some of the top QBs, and I feel bad saying Dak was a top QB, but I've said it, so I'll leave it. I think some of them are smarter and do things like that to try and get into the other team. And Carter took the bait. Just, it was wild watching it, and you're thinking, they never just done that, did he? But did.
Do you know what it reminded me? Just to go back on the football thing. Remember, Scott Brown would always do it to like Morelos and stuff like that, and wind them up during that game, and then you'd see him get set off, and Scott Brown's was kind of mad cheesy in his face, and that's what it reminded me of. Just who's the hothead in that team, and let's go. Just poke the bear a wee bit and see if we get a reaction. That's what it kind of looked like to me.
Well, I thought you were going to go with Frank Rijkaard and Rudy Voller there.
How old do you think I am?
Totty's the one I
Same
remember
age as me.
growing up. That was the first I seen it. Was
What about
Totti, I'm sure.
Materazzi and Zidane, wasn't it?
Zidane.
2006 World Cup.
I mean,
Was that the World Cup?
Yeah.
Euros?
Aye, so
The
Some
World
might
Cup
believe
final.
it.
That was the World
It's the
Cup.
strangest headbutt I've ever seen. Right into the sternum with that one.
yeah.
Okay, good. Cowboys, Eagles. Did we surprised at how much of a fight the Cowboys put up, considering the loss of Micah Parsons to the Packers the week before, and the new head coach. I'm not sure if we could if we should be adopting is it Schottenheimer, because no Schottenheimer, no party. I'm thinking there's a Scottish connection there somewhere. Should we be impressed with CD Lamb and Josh Pickens for the DAC? What about the run game? How do you think the Cowboys have got to fare this season?
I'll go on that. I think, I'll go. The Cowboys a couple of seasons ago, we got to remember, had an awesome offense, and they've always had pretty decent coaching in that side, and Dak manages the game very well. He is one of the, when he's fit, he's one of the better quarterbacks out there. Having Lamb and then Pickens, I mean, Pickens was still getting into fights. I noticed that the weekend, which was like no change there. But CD Lamb's just, he's one of the, as a dandy don, and me talking about lambs, don't anybody spin that a different way there, right? But I think the Cowboys offense.
That's our TikTok video for the week.
Yeah, I know. And then obviously you've got the scenario that they've got probably the best kicker in the game just now. So they're always got good points, I think, the Cowboys, but losing Parsons in defense, I thought would have been more of an effect on them, but they seem to do better than I expected.
They just kind of contain Hurts, though. You know, he kind of, he was bringing out the pocket, kind of his way with them. But I thought they looked all right, though. They looked better than I thought they would be. Dangerous enough. And again, I don't know if this is a week one thing. The Eagles, Eagles a wee bit like Kansas. Look at them last year. It took them a wee while just to get hot, and then they just got hot at the right time, and that was them through. I think obviously they lost a lot of defensive players, like Milton Williams, Joshua Sweat. Who else did they lose? A few other players. I'm not going to line them off because I can't remember. But we obviously lost quite a bit of talent there, and they're obviously trying to build it back up again. So yeah, there's. Again, I wouldn't be too worried if I was an Eagles fan. A good divisional win, early season, gets you off in the running, plenty to work on, but plenty of good signs. I think Dallas will be a decent team. There'll be teams' problems, but I think they're going to fare middle of the road. They're in a strong division, and I don't see them doing too much against the Commanders or the Eagles sort of going forward.
Excellent. So we've covered last week's Thursday night football game, the Brazil game with the Chiefs and the Chargers. There's not going to be a Brazil game next year. It's to do with how many days after Labor Day, I think it is, before they're allowed to show any Friday night football. So there won't be any next year. Hopefully, maybe a Brazil game will be back the following year. Then it got to Red Zone on Sunday. Was it good to get Red Zone back, even if there was commercial studs? Did you notice many?
I genuinely, we were sitting talking about it in our WhatsApp groups. That I genuinely didn't even notice the adverts. I think it wasn't until somebody actually pointed out about the adverts. I was like, oh shit, aye, there's one. And it was away in an instant type thing, but I don't know if it was being this side of the pond or no, but it certainly didn't seem to have an impact on my watching Red Zone anyway. But I was just delighted to see the big smiling face of Scott Hansen coming back to my telly, which is going to be our mainstay for the next 18 weeks, and a Sunday night.
I didn't think there was enough of him on telly. I don't know. I had the Pats game up and I Red Zone on another telly, and obviously my attention was in the Pats for the early kickoffs. But I was flicking backwards for seeing it. He was obviously doing a lot of commentary in the background. I just didn't see a lot of that big beautiful face of his.
The thing they said at the end, it was all in. There was only like 1 minute of adverts in it the whole time, which was like ridiculous. Why do it? But obviously that's baby step. It's baby steps, and then it'll go and it'll go and it'll go. I quite liked some of the red zone coverage this weekend. I was one of the guys that crumbled last weekend and ended up signing back up to the zone because I'm like, I need it.
Yeah,
never got my discount and signed back up. But the fact that they've brought back the multi-screen and all that, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So I quite liked watching that when you've got 5 screens on the go type thing. It's like, that sort of thing. And red zone being one is always good. So, I liked it.
We were sharing.
We
were sharing our setups from the weekend, but you might have seen it online on X and Instagram. Danny and I were a couple of the ones that were sharing it. I was like you, I had Red Zone on the big telly on Sky Sports Mix, and then I had the Zone on the laptop and folded it over. I had the multi-screen on.
Yeah.
I think I need a pre-season with Red Zone in, because I'll be honest, I was in sensory overload. I hadn't a clue where to look. And the worst it was, Claire Studs, you'll know this, the Green Hall steak pies with the Wagyu beef. I had one of them eat as well, and I just sensory overload. I couldn't really keep up with everything that was happening. So I've had to go back and watch a couple of games and get the highlights. And I stayed up after the Seahawks 49ers game. I watched with my oldest, who's a 49ers fan. And I managed to watch all the touchdowns from the week. So I need a pre-season to get back into it, because coverage is amazing. But having that was the first time I had the multi-screen with it, and I struggled. It'll take a couple of weeks to get find my feet again. What about you, Danny?
Well, it was the same. I was kind of glued to the Pats game for my sins in the early one, but obviously flicking over and keeping an eye in red zone. And I thought the early games were great. I found the later games an absolute chew a bit. I found them quite a dull affair. There's some stuff happening, but they're really, really struggling to capture my attention, particularly when I was absolutely knackered. But I
think we were spoiled.
Yeah,
early slate, weren't we? Early slate was class.
Some of the games in the early slate just blew your mind. Like, obviously, the Colts absolutely dominating the Dolphins. I mean, I expected the Colts to beat the Dolphins because of the whole Jim Irsay thing. He was going into the Ring of Honor that weekend, so I expected the Colts to have a wee bit extra. The Dolphins were just an absolute shit show, which made my pick for the Dolphins to be the worst team in the league look like an absolute hero pick after week one. But some of the games, even like Steelers Jets, coming down to that Jalen Ramsey smashing the 11 daylights out of Garrett Wilson in the final play of the game. It was just the games in the early slate were ridiculous. So I think Mikey's bang on. I think we were spoiled in the early slate.
As week ones go, it was pretty impressive. It was really some really tasty games in there. The schedule makers did well.
Yeah. But it's even when you think about it, as much as the schedule makers, Danny, you're looking at it and you're like, right, Steelers Jets, two notoriously tough defences in the AFC, and the two of them dropped 40 points or something on each other. You're just like, that's mental. Considering the history of the two franchises and their defences have always been so stout, the offences just couldn't be stopped. And then you get to like the later slate, and then you've got the Seahawks and 49ers, and again, two tougher defences probably in the NFC, but the defences actually worked in those games. They kept the games tight. It was just, some of the scores were just crazy.
See what I liked is the games at the weekend and across the board, there wasn't any of them, apart from a couple like the Colts, and that wasn't any of the games where any of the teams were out of it. Like you said about Ramsey hitting that hit stick. I mean, the Cowboys with Miles Sanders fumbles that changes it for the Eagles. The Ravens and the Bills, Henry fumbles that changes it. There was loads of games where you thought, oh, this game's done. And then the team came back and you were like, hold on. I mean, dare I say it, the team that can't defend all last season was the Bengals, and then they won that game at the weekend because of their defense. It's like,
No,
It was-
they won
it
that
was-
game because of the Browns' offense.
But what's your take on that though? Is this just week one? Is this just an extended preseason? Is this defenses just sussing everything out here? You know, when you see the Ravens defense, which when we spoke last week, I think it was Mikey and
I was singing the praises, man.
we were singing the praises of them, and then you see them getting up almost 500 yards and 41 points.
Yeah.
That isn't going to worry me. It's week one. They'll tighten up. They'll sort it out. They'll suss it out. And when the Bills inevitably play the Ravens in January or February or whatever it is in the playoffs, I'd be expecting to see a different defense there. So is that across the board? Do you think that's what we're seeing? Not just specifically the Ravens or the Bills, but when we are seeing, the Jets and the Steelers as well, kind of just watching their offenses just kind of march up and down the field at will.
I think there's an element here where preseason lost preseason. So when players used to be getting up to speed and all that, a lot of the players, it's their first snaps at the weekend there. Their first adrenaline spike of what I did notice even in our game when I was watching it, that there was a load of James Cook bursts off a massive long run that spurs the Browns. Humphrey misses and over pursues, and Roquan Smith misses a tackle. And later on in the season, that doesn't necessarily happen. So teams that have players who haven't played in pre-season do take a couple to get up to speed, and dare I say the rust, if you like, what we always talk about. But it was, you could see the teams that had maybe played pre-season, like players had played, looked a bit sharper at the weekend. I mean, we always say this, you don't really get a feel for who's got to be doing stuff till like week 4 or 5, didn't we? It's like when you go, right, okay, who's decent. Pretty sure a couple of years ago we had the Raiders at like 3-0 or something like that, and then we were like, oh, look at them, and then they just went like, so we just wait and see. But
it was the Saints last year, wasn't it?
Aye. In fact, it was.
Saints beat the Cowboys week 1, and then, well, there was a bigger one week 1 as well last year where the Patriots beat the Bengals.
The highlight of the season.
Oh, mate, but it kind of goes back to what you're saying. It probably is an extension of the pre-season almost week 1. You do get some absolute freak results. When you look at the Titans and Broncos for the weekend as well, the Titans kept that game close for so long. The Broncos looked absolutely horrific, and they're everybody's darling this off-season.
Yeah.
They're suddenly going to be taking the AFC West off of the Chiefs and stuff like that, but based on that performance, I'm not seeing it. I'd be more worried about the Raiders and the Chargers because they won week 1. But again, as Danny says, it's week 1. So
there's 3 teams in the AFC West with a win, Studs, and there's one without. It's maybe you should watch how you speak. Looking up in those other teams.
But as I said, I'm not panicking.
You look at it though as well, like the Rams and the Texans. I thought that was going to be like one of the higher scoring. And I was like, what's going to happen? And 14-9, it was like, it was a weird game. I mean, credit to Stafford, he broke another record with his passing yards and all that. But it's like, I don't know. We'll see more this weekend. We'll get more because obviously there's now tape on players and people can look at it and pick holes. So it'll definitely, I think we'll see a bit of a surprise this weekend. Teams that we maybe seen that weekend thought, oh, they look good, they might just fall off a cliff this weekend, and we'll get quite a few teams, hopefully Studs, that bounce back. So
absolutely.
Just quickly on the
Broncos for a bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing, just wanted to quickly check with you guys was what you thought about Cam Ward's debut in the Titans. I only caught a little bit. I think it was towards the end of the game where he was getting the angles, he was getting the throws in, but he was maybe thrown a wee bit too hot, and it was just, there was a couple of them that the receiver should have caught and got him up the park a wee bit, but it was as if he was just putting a wee bit too heat on it. What did you make his debut?
I thought they simplified the offense a little bit too much for him. So I'd like to see them open it up a wee bit because he's definitely got talent. I think he looks all right. he might be the Bo Nix of this year from last year, if you like, that just giving them the right playbook. But we've seen JJ McCarthy for 3 quarters looking like in the headlights, you know what I mean? And then once they settle, then you open up the playbook a bit for them, then they look better. So I think it'd be good for them to open the playbook a little bit and give them a bit of a chance to use what they've got there.
Right, I've been putting off long enough before we move on to next week's games, but I suppose I better bring up the Seahawks and 49ers. They came to Lumen Field to play us, and they left with the win. It did not look that way as we were going down for the final drive. It had been such a tough, tight game. Field goal blocks by the Seahawks D. It was a pleasant watch, considering the defense in the past couple of years has been not very strong at all. But it looks as if that's starting to change, and we're getting a wee bit of momentum there. Absolutely gutted that we couldn't quite convert it in that final drive to even get down there to get the win. And I thought it was going to happen. My oldest is a 49ers fan. I don't know what I've done to annoy him there, but he managed to get a wee hour's sleep before the game, so he stayed up to watch the full game with me. I say that he fell asleep at one point and managed to rally towards the end and give me absolute pelters when Sam Darnold, as he was coiling back to make a fantastic throw, no doubt to JSN, who I thought had been terrific in the game, off his own defender who stumbled into him. Yeah, absolutely gutted, so I was. But since week 1, the biggest disappointment for me was that the teams weren't wearing their rivalry jerseys. I thought that was going to be a thing. I didn't know it was just a wee gimmick for selling in the NFL shop. I thought they were actually going to be wearing those jerseys in the games.
It is for 1 week of the season. So the Patriots
it's later in the season, isn't it?
Jets week 13 or something like that. Or it's much later in the year anyway. So they will be wearing them, but it's just not every divisional game.
Right,
They've
not
got a specific game designated.
Yeah.
Right. See, I was thinking it was going to be because the 49ers and the Seahawks have got them. I think Cardinals and Rams have got theirs as well, but I thought it was going to be right. Okay.
See, that would be
educational on this podcast as well.
Got you covered every angle.
Superb. Did you catch much of the 49ers Seahawks game, or he's not that much a glutton for punishment?
Well, CMC's back. That's really a bit all you need to know. He's healthy as well, especially if you've drafted him in fantasy again this year. But the worrying thing, if you're a 49ers fan, for me, is obviously George Kittle. He's a massive part of that offense for everything he does. He's blocking, his energy. He's a really, really likeable guy. When you see him off the field as well, so that you can only imagine the energy he brings into that room, and for that now to be hitting IR and missing for 4 weeks at least for them, I think it's going to be a massive hole. And then obviously we've had the announcement that Brock Purdy is going to be missing.
Scottish cousin.
He's now going to be missing, but we were talking about it offline, that what I find interesting now is obviously Mac Jones is going to be stepping in there. The rumours of the Mac Jones draft was that's who Shanahan wanted to take with the 3rd overall pick, was Mac Jones. So the fact that he's now got him coming into his offense, I think it makes week 2 fascinating for the 49ers. Danny will have more takes on that, obviously, having seen Mac Jones firsthand.
There is a bit of good news. There is a bit of good news, sorry, Mikey, for the 49ers, and that is that they have cut Jake Moody. So there's some positives there, because his performance was atrocious the other night.
That was the least surprising news of the weekend, I think.
They're probably doing that to get ahead of the Browns, try to steal a kicker before them, aren't they? So I'm going to give you some other good news, Keith, whilst we're on it.
Ooh.
The Seahawks are wearing their rivalry's jersey this weekend against the Steelers.
Superb.
There you go.
Superb.
And the Cardinals are wearing their rivalry's jersey against the Seahawks in week 4.
That's a nice top, that Cardinals one.
Yeah,
I've
quite
got to
like
say,
the Cardinals one. But
Aye.
yeah,
that's
the
nice.
That was one I actually didn't like.
Seahawks are wearing theirs this weekend. So
Ooh.
white, wolf grey. You can howl at the moon.
Emerald green. Emerald
Yeah.
green and the numbers, it's absolutely classy.
So
I'd seen
you
something
like the
online.
green?
I'd seen something at the Wizard of Oz, bud. That's where it comes.
Of course it is, of course.
There had been something I'd seen online. See if I can find it. The tops that they're selling in the NFL Europe shop, so Fanatics and all that over here are the press numbers, whereas in America, and Danny, you'll probably see this when you're over there, they've got the stitch numbers, but I think it's $180 to $120 for the print-on ones. I can't remember the website people go to for getting American stuff shipped over here. Get your orders in early. I'll put a wee link on the podcast afterwards when I find out where it is again, but it's just escaped me. US exports or something like that. I can't remember. I'll have a wee nosy.
There's something. There used to be a couple of them. I'm old enough to remember when it used to be 70 quid for a standard game jersey, and it was like 105 for the stitched one. It's just the prices on just went mental. So yeah, because I was getting one of the proper like vapor ones, but they're over 200 quid or something. That's mental. Yeah. I'm still a sucker. I'll still buy one right enough, but you know.
Okay, yes, looking then at some of our questions that we'd received from listeners and contributors from the fans that we've got on Instagram. First up, we've got Chris. I think this one's more aimed at you, Mikey. Chris saying that Harbaugh needs to go at the Ravens. Is this a long-running theme then?
I mean, there's a question, right? There's a question over the years that Harbaugh should have went, but then Lamar got drafted and Lamar saved them. There's also a question of, does Harbaugh invoke that fire in the team like some of the other coaches in the league do? And for me, it's a lot more simpler, right? There's only one head coach that wins more games in the league than Harbaugh, and Harbaugh learned from it. It's Andy Reid, right? So it's like you always take it to the point of, you get rid of Harbaugh, who takes over, right?
Exactly.
And there's all these, like, if a McVay, well, that would be quite interesting with our offense. You would. There's a couple other players, like coaches and that, and you're like, but there's a couple you'd be like, no, we need to stay clear of. Couldn't see them going to anybody in college, taking anybody. So it's not a reason for you just keep him because there's nobody else type of thing. But whilst he's winning and winning handsomely in a lot of games, I can't see the front office or the owner, Mr. Biscotti, like making any changes there, because it's like, I don't know, it's just one of them. Harbaugh picks the coaches. He does annoy us fans and Scottish Ravens and UK Ravens and all that. He annoys us with regards to some of his answers. But he is a winning coach majority of the time. What frustrates, obviously, the people that pull it up is the amount of double-digit leads we've lost. But I touched on that earlier. It's like the double-digit leads you're losing is because you're actually win by more than double digits. A lot of teams don't have double-digit wins. Do you know what I mean? And there was a stat kicking about where 80% of his wins, when the team gets an 80% probability of winning, they win 80% of the time. So it's like, yeah, there's just, I get it. I get the argument of move on from him, and if he fails in the playoffs again and we miss a window type thing, there'll be serious questions. There will.
I think that whole question's batshit crazy.
I'm with you, Danny.
He leaves the Ravens. He walks into probably there's 20 other teams that will jump to try and sign him. He's winning. He's consistently winning. They're making deep runs in the playoffs. We've seen what it is. It's a big toe here or a drop there, or winning some of your biggest, most steady performers. If it's a Mark Andrews and catching a 2-pointer or whatever it might be, but at the end of the day, he has won it with his, he took Joe Flacco and won it, so it's. I think even the bringing it up, and there may be, I'm hoping there's a bit of tongue in cheek in that one, and it's just to try and light a fire under your arse.
I mean, Chris is just Keith. We can maybe interview him this weekend and ask what his real thoughts are. But there are genuinely Ravens fans. I think he's just genuinely Ravens fans who think it would be best to move on from him.
I wonder if.
Yeah.
I wonder if you wait and see how Mike McDonald does at the Seahawks.
That was the darling love, but I have a theory that before Anthony Weaver went to the Dolphins, he was being lined up as like the assistant head coach, and he's went to the Dolphins, and I think he'll end up being the Dolphins head coach if McDaniels gets put out.
When that's going to happen.
Oh, that'll happen, yeah. But what I would say is, I would be worried that the coaching that we have and all that, if we were to make that move or change it, it's like any of the teams. If Andy Reid somehow didn't do well with the Chiefs, they would be like, is it time to move on? And we had it last year with the Steelers. It was like, do the Steelers move on for Tomlin?
Travis Kelce was shouting that at him at the sideline, I thought, in the Super Bowl. Retire, old man! So
it's up there and it's out there in the ether of people talking about it. But I just genuinely think from ownership, as Danny says, I think it's batshit, because as an owner going to an unknown when you've got something that is pulling it in, and to wind Chris up even more, it's a bit like Celtic fans when they moan that they're always winning, but they always want to win more. It's like,
there you go. Chris has gave his vote of no confidence in Jim Harbaugh. That's interesting. Studs, coming to you next for the Bills heading to the Super Bowl. That's from T-Tray13 on Instagram. Can you see it? We love talking about the Bills window in this podcast, don't we? Go. What do you think, Studs?
To be fair, it's week one. Let's chill out. When the Bills win a meaningful game, we were speaking about it earlier on. To be fair, one of the things I'd say to Mikey listening to the Arrowheads Abroad podcast was the fact that the Bills and the Ravens have put it together in meaningful games against the Chiefs for 45 minutes. They've just always left that window open for the last quarter. So it really comes down to, can the Bills in January play the full 60 minutes? I mean, against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship games, Danny tongue-in-cheek mentioned it was 13 settings that they left open for the Chiefs, and the Chiefs went on and handled that game. Last year, again, they played well for 45 minutes. They left the fourth quarter open and the Chiefs finished it off. So, yeah, let's see what happens in January. The talent with Josh Allen being healthy is obviously there. His surrounding cast is always going to bring up questions, but the fact is he does it year in, year out with a lesser supporting cast than some of the other teams in the league. He's not got that true number one wide receiver. He's not got that true that tight end that's elite level. It just seems to be able to get them to like 7 touchdowns, 700 yards consistently year after year. So the talent's there with Josh Allen. I think if they don't get to a Super Bowl, then again, similar to what Mikey said about John Harbaugh, I think you're going to get Bills fans questioning about Sean McDermott. Can he go over the hump? Is it time for McDermott to go? And again, I think you're probably looking at similar things in the sense of, well, he's consistently doing well with them, so why would you change it type thing? But I do think you'd get similar questions for some of the Bills mafia.
The one thing you've got with that comment from the kind of that we've been sent in about the Bills going to the Super Bowl, their strength of schedule for the rest of this season, for every one of us that's sitting on here compared to our teams, is one of the easiest in the league. I think it's like the third easiest in the league. How the Bills in the fixture list have managed to get all their home games against the top AFC teams, and their away ones are against the lessers, is a stroke of luck. Considering it's normally meant to be where they finish in the year before, and that's how it works out their strength of schedule. But the Bills have ended up, so there is a good chance that the Bills could be like the Chiefs were last year, that they just coast on through games to the end of the season. It's like what they do in the postseason will be the thing, but if they've not really been tested through the season, that'll be where it'll be like, right, okay, well, how are they going to step it up? I always don't like that easy schedule. I prefer December, November, December. You get hard games because you get a run in and you come into that momentum.
Yep, prepare.
But I think the Bills are up there because they've got Allen. Stud said about them not having a sporting cast, but remember Cook scored 16 touchdowns last year, so it was like he does have weapons. He just lets everybody believe he doesn't. So the worry I would have with the Bills is they were gashed at the weekend in terms of points. Their defense is not as good as I thought it was going to be, and yeah, they got some pressure on Lamar, and Ed Oliver done well, but our right guard had a bit of a hole that he kept getting through. So I think the Bills' defense will need to sharpen up, because I don't care what anybody says, the reason the Chiefs and the Ravens and all that are always getting to that sort of level is because the Chiefs and Ravens' defense is probably better than most of the AFCs.
We talked about the Seahawks and the 49ers earlier on. The 49ers, of course, have got Robert Saleh, former Jets head coach, is their defensive head coach now. Defensive coach now, commenting again on Instagram from Elbrook Court, saying 49ers to win it all. Elbrook, just to say that comment has been reported as abuse, and any further comments like that, you will be banned. So take it as a warning. Thank you very much. No, thank you very much to everyone for your comments. One last one, and this ties in for some of the things that we're hoping to do in the future from Vengeance Performance Coaching. So much going on. Scotland under 19s, Uniball, people switching teams for the senior season as well. That's something that we are going to look to cover a wee bit more of this year. Grant King, who's recently joined the crew, we've got him on board so that we can have a wee bit more of a focus on some of the Scot ball, and then hopefully gather a bit more interest in the game, especially up and down the country as the uni teams are back and starting to play some ball as well. So look out for a podcast coming on that in the next couple of weeks. But if anybody is interested and maybe wants to lend their knowledge to the crew on that one, we'd love to get you aboard for that. So yeah, get in touch, host@gridirncru.com for our email, or just DM us and we'll be able to get in touch there. Or if there's anyone you would recommend, please let us know. What about this weekend then, gentlemen? We have some, I wouldn't say it's as tasty as week one was, but there's some good matchups coming up. Buffalo Bills we're talking about there. They're heading to New Jersey to play the Jets at MetLife Stadium. Studs, what you thinking for that one? What did you make of the Jets? We didn't really cover them, and Justin Fields, first game as QB there.
I think the surprising thing, as we kind of mentioned, was the high score. The offense actually looked like it was able to get stuff done. Breece Hall looked good for the Jets. He was managing to find his gaps and looked like the Breece Hall that kind of broke out in his rookie season. Obviously playing for a contract as well, since the Jets didn't take up his fifth-year option. Could, of course, have a part to play in the fact that he's trying to get paid. So I think that'll be interesting, considering what happened to the Bills as well, and the fact that Derrick Henry kind of gashed them. Can Breece Hall could have similar success against them? Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields looked like they had a really good connection as well. Garrett Wilson was a ball hair away for getting like a second touchdown off of Justin Fields as well. So I do think, again, and albeit divisional games are always that wee bit tighter, so I would expect both defences to be a bit better. But I do think the performance of the Jets against the Steelers certainly leads you to believe that this could be a close game.
Danny, there's another divisional game. It's the New England Patriots travelling to Hard Rock Stadium to take on the Miami Dolphins. Is that your first win of the year there?
Don't know. Complete and utter slap fest. I would not. We've not won Miami since 2019 with Brady. I think that's right. I need to double check. We never win
Say it with confidence.
in Miami.
I'm calling it, Danny. You're doing it.
Yes, right. That's it. You've convinced me. That's it.
Right.
I'm going to take my mortgage money and just fire it right on there. Done. But homeless. No, to be honest, I have no idea because I didn't expect Miami to be as bad as they were, and the Patriots. Well, defensively, we looked all right. We were getting up chunk plays, but we were actually getting after the quarterback. Pressured a lot, brought a lot of blitzes. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. See if Gonzalez is back. But offensively, we look complete our powder puff. We've got no explosiveness. Drake May just looked completely rattled. The team looked mentally weak. So I just see this as just been a slap fest, to be honest. And whoever wins. But yeah, I'm seeing Miami are actually favourites in this one by 1.5. So I fancy our chances because I did see that Miami recently just signed our first round reject and Cole Strange. They've had a few injuries in their O-line, so again we'll see. The only way is up for both of these teams. So I'm the over under 42.5. Hammer the under in this one.
I think you're talking about the Patriots. That you were quite disappointed in them last week. I think out of the two teams, they've got more of a chance of bouncing back and putting on a good performance. Everything that's coming out of Miami just now is that the team don't seem to gel well. Tyreek's getting touted about the league as well. It doesn't sound as if it's a happy place. It sounds as if it's just it's Mike McDaniel's in these last days there. It just feels like it is all collapsing. Whereas Vrabel just feels as if he's going to kick ass this week and have the guys ready.
So two curves in it.
One up, one down.
McDaniel's and Vrabel's kind of. I think the off-field stuff with Miami and the Florida boys and all that and everything with and then Tyreek, this allegations and everything it's just a mess that they don't need. And I hate to say it, but if Tua plays like he played on the other night and keeps going, I don't think Tua will be in the league after this year because he just. I know we've spoke about him previously in the pod about his health and all that. It comes a point where I don't know. So there's no danger that Vrabel isn't going to get dialed up and get pressure on him this weekend because that's just what his defenses do. So that's why I think the Pats will go there.
My only worry though is we're going up against the team that's probably the worst for us because we are getting up chunk plays. We were getting up plays at 25, 30, 22, 28. When we were dialing up, the opening touchdown for Raiders last week, we ended up sending Milton Williams and Christian Barmore into coverage. We dropped them back. We get too cute. It was just busted with Hawkins to safety. It's just like you can imagine Tyreek Hill getting in behind that or Waddle getting in behind that. And as much as they may be a catastrophe, we will leave the door open for them, particularly if Gonzalez isn't fit, for them just to go and pull off a 40-yard touchdown. And then it's a momentum shift. We were talking about earlier about how teams only takes one sort of play and all of a sudden that momentum is shifted again. Whereas we haven't got that over the top explosiveness. So that's the only thing I'd say against that, Mikey, is that's the part that worries me. It's just that downfield speed could really give us problems if we play the same way. But there's no saying that given their offensively we can get after Tua.
Bear in mind, Tyreek's not had that over 30-yard play in over a year now. As well.
You've just jinxed it.
I know.
Just saying.
I'm coming after you, studs, if that happens.
I mean, to be fair,
driving.
There's still time for the Chiefs to trade for him.
Right. Other games we've got Chicago Bears travelling to Motor City to take on Detroit Lions. New York Giants going to play the Dallas Cowboys.
A lot of divisional games this weekend.
Yeah, Mikey, the one you mentioned as well, it's not a divisional game, just beforehand was a battle of the defences with the Seahawks travelling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers at 6 o'clock on Sunday. That'll be an interesting one. Of course, being a Seahawks fan, I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing us bounce back. But the Steelers were not as bad as I was actually thinking. It was going to be a bit of a car crash.
The flip side on it is going to be obviously it's DK's return against Seahawks, so it's like there's a bit of a thing there. Aaron Rodgers might try and force the ball to him type thing to make him look, and I think Seahawks might take advantage of that. I think it'll be a good game. I mean, the Jets handily had 2 or 3 opportunities to put the Steelers away at the weekend and let them back in. So I'm thinking Seahawks might be a bit more rigid in that sense and not give up as much as that. So it'll be a chess game to start with and see how it's playing out. But I mean, Steelers being at home, they're always tough to play at Heinz Field, aren't they? So
we were talking earlier on about different podcasts we've been listening to this week. I caught a little bit of the 12 Talk podcast. The couple of cracking guys there. I met them when the Seahawks fans all met up in Glasgow late last year for a game. Brilliant guys. Hopefully get them on the pod sometime. Yeah. One guy that we're ripping into was Reek Willen and how his concentration's just not been good enough. This is a big game for him, especially if he's going up against DK Metcalf. So hopefully we can see a massive improvement there and a big bounce back for the Seahawks this weekend with that fantastic rivalries kit on as well. Any other games jump out to you? Studs, the replay of the Super Bowls, is it too soon for you to be taking on the Eagles?
Listen, we mentioned that earlier on, the Chiefs' first 4 games are horrendous. So it is what it is. But Super Bowl rematch this weekend at 9:25 our time. I think it's a Sky game over here. So it'll be interesting to see.
Channel 5,
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what we kind of look like, see if we've learned any lessons from the Super Bowl. As much as Danny kind of mentioned, I can't mind if it was on the pod or off air, it was about Mahomes scrambling for his life. Josh Simmons at left tackle actually looked good, to be honest. I think the issue was more left guard and Kingsley Suamaitea rather than Josh Simmons. So it'll be interesting to see how the line looks against what we know is an elite defence in the Eagles, especially since Jalen Carter's able to play.
Excellent. Okay. And then the Sunday night games, you've got the Falcons at the Vikings. And then, as you said, there's a doubleheader Monday Night Football. You've got Buccaneers at the Houston Texans. And then there is the Chargers travelling to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Some fantastic matchups there. Mikey, big one for you, though, is the Browns coming to Bmore to M&T Bank Stadium. Looking forward to this one. You'll be watching it where? So
Browns coming to the Ravens for the 30th anniversary celebrations, and we will be hosting, I say we, the Scottish Ravens, we will be hosting a watch party in the Raven in Glasgow, in Renfield Street. There is no tickets, it's just show up. You will get to hear my banter, you'll get to hear my other Scottish Ravens pals, all them, their banter. We had a couple of successful meets last year with quite a lot of people. This is looking like a good one. It's opening weekend. We've been sent some, if you're into that sort of thing, we've been sent some nice cool merch from the Ravens. So some 30th anniversary stuff. So that'll be out there. And it's something we're looking to do a bit more regular, get more people involved. We've got different podcasters, people coming. The Raven itself used to give us the nest upstairs, but because of the success last year, they've renovated their downstairs and put big TV up, so we can hold more people. So yeah, it's good for food. It's good for drinks, and even if you want to just come and just chill out in the atmosphere and see Red Zone and all that, it's there.
Yep.
Anybody wants any information, the crew have shared it enough on the socials. We've shared it on socials, but yeah, it's 4:00 Sunday, and I think a few of us might be staying till after to see the Chiefs in the Philadelphia game as well afterwards. See, as long as we're not too broken-hearted and we don't do what we've done in week one, but yeah, looking forward to it. They're always a good laugh, and getting more people in Scotland watching games is really what it's all about if we ever want to try and draw that crowd into that Murrayfield type game. So defo, if you can come along. It'd be good to see us.
Yeah, very much so. And later on in the season, we'll be doing a wee watch party ourselves. We'll be releasing details of that in the coming weeks or so. Fantastic. Really looking forward to it. As I said, I'll be there, certainly representing the crew. But I think, as you said, it's just a chance to watch live football with fellow Scottish fans and hear some of their stories, how they get into it. I'm really looking forward to it, mate. I've not been to it even. I'm at the age now, and Danny, you'll be the same. Try to remember what pubs used to be called back in the day.
I don't know. I don't know what you're meaning by that. I've been in the Raven. Great boozer.
I've not been in. No.
Sure, Smudger and I were in there watching a Vikings game once. Can't mind the game. He was excited. I was less excited. But it was good food, good pints, good atmosphere. You can do a lot worse than going to the Raven for some NFL action on a Sunday night.
Superb. Gentlemen, thank you very much. That's been a comprehensive look back at week one. And thank you very much for all your questions and comments into the crew. We'll be doing that more regularly. If you've got anything you'd like the guys to talk about, or if you'd like to maybe make a wee appearance yourself, by all means, get in touch with the crew, and we'll be hopefully getting some guest appearances on as well as the season goes on. Guys, looking forward to a big weekend of football. It's great having everybody back. Mikey, I'll come to you.
I just want to drop one thing. There's a very, very special person that I just want to say happy birthday today. And it should be my mum and it should be my dad because his is tomorrow. But actually, it's Mr. Ed Reed. Happy birthday. And Zay Flowers, happy birthday. So let's go Ravens.
Fantastic. Studs, enjoy your weekend of football, my friend.
Hopefully I will, but we'll wait and see.
And Danny boy, it's a good job. You don't need much beauty sleep, my darling. I hope you enjoy your game tonight.
Honestly, man, I feel my eyes are like dangling like Doug's balls in there. But I'll get there. That's the great thing about this time of the year, isn't it? Like I was saying earlier, you just push through. Lack of sleep, who needs it? NFL's back. It's worth it.
Fantastic. Yep. Thanks very much for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to the crew as well. Share the love, and we will be back with you again next week.